The IRS whistleblower process from start to finish. How to report those tax cheats and potentially receive an IRS whistleblower reward. Hi everybody, thank you for joining me today to discuss one of the most important whistleblower programs, albeit one of the slowest, the IRS Whistleblower Program, and how to report tax cheats. I'm Jason T. Brown, former FBI Special Agent and Legal Advisor, and the privilege to now head the whistleblower law firm Brown LLC. I'm also licensed in U.S. tax court, so hopefully I won't put you to sleep though, among other jurisdictions. Today, I'm going to walk you through the IRS Whistleblower Program from start to finish. I'll also let you know what types of cases to be on the lookout for, and mention that although we offer free and confidential consultations, we're very selective about the IRS whistleblower cases that we pursue. Now, I'm wearing green today, not just because this was filmed on St. Patrick's Day, because there's large IRS whistleblower awards out there for the right information that can get you the green. I'm also wearing blue, because unfortunately most cases are blue and sadly don't result in any award. At Brown LLC, our goal is to go after the green and steer you clear of the blue. So if you uncovered serious tax fraud and want to know how to report it and potentially receive an IRS whistleblower reward, this session is for you. So let's dive right in. What qualifies as an IRS whistleblower award? Not all tax issues qualify for a whistleblower award. The IRS focuses on substantial tax underpayments, typically involving $2 million or more in tax liability, not income, liability. Let me clarify that with an example. If someone fails to declare $2 million in income and their effective tax rate's around 50%, their tax liability is only $1 million, which would fall short of the $2 million threshold for an award. And the truth is, even at $2 million in liability, the IRS, due to very limited resources, is unlikely to act unless the case is extremely blatant, well documented, and likely to result in a collection of $10 million or more. For individuals, there's also the additional requirement they must also have had gross income over $200,000 in at least one of the tax years at issue. By the way, let me just say, God bless some of the hard workers at the IRS and the great work that they do. I know not many people say that, but I've worked alongside them at the FBI, and some of them are very dedicated, hardworking individuals. And these tax fraud cases typically involve underreported income, fraudulent or outright fake deductions, like writing off personal expenses as business ones, or just making them up, which we've seen in some cases. Big ones may include offshore tax evasion, like using foreign accounts to hide income or assets, false accounting, manipulating records to misstate the taxable income. Whenever there's two sets of books, they're always suspicious, makes for a great complaint. And business misclassifications, including classifying employees as independent contractors to avoid paying payroll taxes, or intentionally misstating the business structure to reduce tax liability. Also, cryptocurrency is pretty hot. If somebody's using crypto to evade tax liability, the IRS wants to know and the CFTC wants to know, different whistleblower program. The best IRS whistleblower cases involve large dollar amounts with very clear documented evidence against deep-pocketed targeted defendants with collectible assets, especially when the acts are willful and not just a misunderstanding. And ideally, cases where you're an insider and have direct access to the information. The stronger your evidence and the larger the potential recovery, the more likely the IRS will act. The weaker the case, the poorer the documentation, or the smaller the potential recovery, the more likely it's ignored. Also, keep in mind, tax cheats can face criminal exposure. If you participated in the scheme or feel you may be at risk, speak to IRS counsel first. Your safety and liberty should always come before any potential award. Reporting a matter to criminal authorities might accelerate the case, but can increase the risk that your identity is revealed or subject you to criminal exposure, which has happened in the past to some other IRS complainants. If you're clean and your IRS whistleblower attorney reports it criminally, there may be a strategy to try to stimulate the case, but that's an important decision to talk over with your counsel. You also have state options. A few states, including New York, Illinois, have programs that allow whistleblowers to report tax fraud under their state statutes, and generally a state False Claims Act statute. It could be a powerful tool and runs parallel to the federal IRS program, but with completely different mechanisms and protections. So run it by your law firm. If they're one of the best IRS whistleblower law firms out there, they probably navigated those state statutes before, like we have. Step 2, gathering the evidence. The IRS does not act on speculation. They want specific, credible, and verifiable information. Some examples include internal emails or spreadsheets, 2 sets of books, tax returns or amended returns, bank statements and financial ledgers, contracts and invoices, communications like emails or text messages that show an intent to deceive. That said, gathering evidence must always be done legally and ethically. Taking documents you're not authorized to have, especially from an employer, could backfire, get you fired, get you arrested. This is why you should engage experienced whistleblower counsel early to advise you on what you can and can't use and how to best build that case of yours without exposing yourself to the risk. Step 3, filing Form 211, the IRS Whistleblower Form. Maybe it's the moment you've waited for. To apply for this reward, you must file IRS Form 211, officially titled the Application for Award for Original Information. Already a mouthful. Your IRS whistleblower attorney will do this for you, and it's a critical step. If you file it wrong, consider yourself dead in the water, or at best, delayed by a couple years. If you have access to the tax information because of your role as an attorney or accountant, you really need to work that out ahead of time. Or it could sit in a taint process anywhere for 3 to 5 years before anything gets done with it. That's right, a half a decade you'll be waiting because you filed it improperly. And speaking of that, many cases come to us after someone has submitted on their own the Form 211, and they're trying to have us salvage the matter. In those instances, we'll review your submission and determine whether we're even able to clean up the mess that generally people make on their own. And if we can't, we just decline it on the spot. The Form 211 is the heart of your submission. You need to explain the W's. Who, what, when, and where. Who committed the fraud, what they did, when and how did they do it, why did they do it, their intent, the estimated tax loss, and how you arrive at that figure, and the documentation that supports your claim. At Brown LLC, we typically submit a comprehensive written memo alongside the Form 211, walking the IRS through the facts, applicable laws, and documents, trying to make their job as easy as possible to maximize the chance that the IRS will take action. The IRS wants these things silver platered, not quick value mealed. A quick value meal often doesn't sit well and is immediately discarded, and you know how it's discarded. Step 4, IRS Review and Investigation. Once submitted, the IRS Whistleblower Office reviews your claim. If they believe it has some merit, they may open a civil audit or criminal investigation. But here's the reality. These cases take forever. Forever. The average time for a successful claim is about 10 years. You heard that right, a decade. So you need patience and better select the correct counsel to work with because you're going to be in this for a very long time together. Each year, your IRS whistleblower attorney may try to obtain an update, but most updates are actually quite vague or non-substantive. Here's the most common updates. No action, which often means nothing is happening or they don't want to tell you. Refer to audit. This can be promising, but just a little promising. It doesn't mean too much yet. Refer to collections. Ding, ding, ding. That's more helpful, as that generally signals the IRS has found liabilities in pursuing the money. But even then, you wait and wait and wait. Step 5, potential IRS whistleblower award. The good part. If the IRS uses your information and collects proceeds, whether it's taxes, penalties, or interest, you may receive an IRS whistleblower reward. For eligible cases, you may receive 15 to 30% of the collected amount. If your claim doesn't meet the thresholds, it still may fall under a discretionary program with a smaller non-appealable reward or no reward at all. Critically, there's no guaranteed award when you file, even if the IRS audits or penalizes the target. You're only paid if they collect and credit your submission with having made a substantial contribution. On the flip side, some IRS whistleblowers have received life-changing amounts for coming forward with solid information. In one landmark case, a former banker was awarded $104 million after helping expose offshore tax schemes, tax evasion, at a major Swiss bank. And that's an interesting case, so you got to file these the right way. Other whistleblowers have received awards ranging from $10 million to $30 million, depending on the amount collected and the quality of the information. While results like these are rare, they show it's possible when the right case is paired with strong evidence and skilled advocacy. Step 6, appeal if needed. If you're at the appellate stage, you have a problem. If your award is denied or you feel is unfairly low, you could appeal to U.S. tax courts where I'm licensed. That's a specialized process, and it's worth saying appeals rarely succeed in tax court. It's rare for the court to find the IRS didn't act favorably in the first place or why it didn't act correct. They won't reinvestigate the underlying fraud. It only reviews whether the whistleblower office abused its discretion, an almost impossible standard to meet. We handle IRS whistleblower cases on a contingency basis. It means we're only paid if we win. But because of the time complexity and risk involved, we're extremely selective about the cases we take on. For us, the case must involve at least over $10 million tax liability. The information provided must be detailed, well documented, and timely, so it's not stale or outdated. And it has to be, we want to work with you just like you want to work with us. Confidentiality and risk. The IRS attempts to keep whistleblowers confidential, but absolute anonymity is not guaranteed, especially for criminal prosecution or civil litigation results. That's one thing to go over with your counsel. If you're reporting your employer, a business partner, or someone close to you, there can be retaliation risks. That's why whistleblower strategy matters. And we help clients weigh when, how, and even whether to report. Some final thoughts. Let's recap the IRS whistleblower process. Number 1, evaluate if your case qualifies under the program. 2, lawfully and ethically gather information to support your case. 3, retain experienced IRS whistleblower counsel, firms like Brown LLC. 4, file the Form 211 with a compelling submission. 5, wait patiently and strategically for investigation and collection. Takes a long time. 6, receive an award only if funds are collected and your info made a difference. 7, appeal if needed, but keep your expectations realistic. Probably not going to succeed at the appellate process. The process is long, it's complex. For the right case, it can lead to massive rewards and meaningful accountability, but for most, it's going to just languish and die. If you believe you have a viable IRS whistleblower case, don't go at it alone. Contact experienced IRS whistleblower counsel who know the process inside out and can guide you toward the green and keep you away from the blue. Thank you for watching.